hope you are all well. In this lecture, we shall be discussing about PHP variable scope. Yesterday we looked at variables, and we said variables are containers for data. Now, we looked at variable declaration, and also we demonstrated how data can be stored in a variable. So data of different types. For example, we looked at strings, or you could say text data type, and we also looked at the numbers or the numeric values and how they can be stored in a variable, and also we looked at the floating points or float data type. So how the float data type or the floating values can be stored in the variables. So today we are going to look at PHP variable scope. In PHP, variables can be declared anywhere in the script. So the scope of a variable is simply the part of the script where the variable can be referenced or where the variable can be used. We have several types of variables. Actually, we have three different scopes, different variable scopes, whereby we have the local, the global, and the static variables. Now, let's look at the difference between the global and the local scope. Now, a variable declared outside a function has a global scope, and it can only be accessed outside a function unless otherwise, as we shall see. Then a variable declared within a function has a local scope and can only be accessed within a function. Let us look at an example of these kinds of scope. So let me save another file. Close out this one. File, save as. Then I'm going to call this variable scope, and I'll save it, of course, to this PC, local disk C. There we have our WAMP, and in the directory, then we save it local script.php, because it is a PHP file. PHP, and then we are saving it as intro PHP in there. So I'll copy this name because I will have to reuse it. Now that this file is saved, we can start our WAMP server. Click yes. Go to our WAMP server. We click the local host. Then right here we have our intro PHP folder. So when it comes, of course, it will load the index file, but we want for us to access this file called variable scope from this folder in the directory. So I'll have to press enter on my keyboard, and of course there is nothing there yet. So let me start. So we are having those PHP tags, the PHP syntax already typed there. Then I'll say, maybe I want to first of all echo out PHP variable scoop. So we said scoop is an area within the script or within the program where a variable can be used. Okay. Let me have this one tested. I refresh over here, you'll see that it can print out that is the best PHP syntax, where you can echo out content using the echo function. Okay. To the end here, let me print out a new line because we want everything else that we're planning to be on a new line. Now, let me declare a variable x and equate it to a certain value, maybe 10. And then down here, I can create a function by, of course, functions. We shall discuss functions in the next class. But when you are declaring functions in PHP, you begin by typing a keyword function, and maybe I'm going to call it my test. So whereby we have the function name followed by the parentheses, and then the curly braces from which we can declare functions right there. Then I'm going to say y, variable y equals to maybe 3. So when you look at these statements, I would rather say that this one here is a global variable because it has been declared from outside a function. So this one is a global variable, whereas this one, which has been declared within the scope of a function, refer to it as a local variable. Now, how would we print out information from these two variables? Now, to echo out the value of x, we can use the first method, is whereby we simply say echo x, and then when I refresh right here, we shall see that the value of x will be echoed out. How about if we want to concatenate in this one so that I can add a break tag? How about when we want to access the function? Of course, I'll just call this function here by simply typing the function name here. It means I'm calling the contents of the function. But before that, I'll have to echo the value of y from within this function. So I'll just say echo this variable y. Now, when I call this function right here, it will come and print the value 3 in the browser. And when I refresh, you see that it also works like the other one. So this variable here, the variable y, cannot be called from outside the function. It can only be used from within the function because it is local to this function. So these braces, the curly braces are making it local, or they're making all the variables declared within this function available for use for only this function or within that function. Whereas this one that is declared from outside is global. We can use it, we can call it outside the function or even within the function when we add a certain keyword, as I'm going to explain soon. So we have another variable called the static variable, the static scope. I'm not going to explain that one now. I'll give it to you as your research, but maybe I'll also have to explain it to you. I'll make an explanation about it, but first of all, you've got to make your own readings there. Now, let's look at how we can access. I'm removing this one. Let me remove all this and remain with only this one. Maybe let me leave it like that, but in this one I'm going to make an explanation on global functions or global variable scope, not functions but global variable scope, because in the first session I discussed about the two types of variables, the local and global variables, and we looked at only how we could access the global the local function, and a little bit of we looked at how we could access the local variables and also the global variables, but we never went into details on how we could access global variables in a function. I mean global variables that are outside the function, but when we want to use them within the function. Now let us take this example of maybe having a variable x equating to maybe 7, and then we have, of course, what I'm doing now is global, is function declaration and assignment. Now the variable y is going to store a value of 3. Then let's create a function from which we want to access those two variables. Remember in the first explanation we are accessing them from just outside here. Now I'm going to say my test. So this is my function, and if I want to use the two variables that are outside this function, if I say y x plus y plus variable y, and maybe I say create a variable y that is going to store the values of this result. Now, then after here I now say equal, I want it to print for me on the browser the value value of y. Now, when we do this, see what will happen. We expect, remember, these variables were not declared within this function. Now, when we refresh, of course it will have nothing to display right here. Because first of all, we did not call the function. Now we have to call this function from down here so that it can write for us what is inside it, and we expect it to take out a certain value. Remember, the value of x and y are declared from outside this function, so they appear to be global, but remember we cannot use it within the function, not until we do something that is about to be explained to them. Now when I refresh, you see it throws out an error, and also the value of the value of y to be 0, because it does not know whether x is carrying 7 or y is carrying 3, because these two variables are not directly accessed within this function. So how would we make them accessible? We will do that by adding a keyword global in front of the variables that are declared from outside this function. So if I say global x, comma, and y, then I terminate. Now I never wanted to repeat the word global, but I would separate these two with a comma, instead of repeating global x and global y below here. But I can do it with a comma, and when I save this, now the value of x, now this function knows that I'm asking it to access the variable x that is outside this function, or that is globally declared from outside the function. And now the results will have to be true, which is 10. So that's the difference between global and the difference between global variables and local variables, and how you can use both of those variables. So let me write a statement here. The value of x and y is space. Now right here, because we are joining a string to a variable, we've got to add a concatenator right there. And so when we refresh, it has to write a full statement. Okay, now that is it for this session about PHP variable scope and so forth. In case you have any questions about this, please ask, and I'll have to respond to you in a more simpler way, simpler than I have explained here. Okay.